Well, hey there, guys. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to our Flash open spoiler discussion here on the channel. Good to have you guys here. A little bit of a scheduling note. This was supposed to happen yesterday on Sunday. Unfortunately, I kind of came down under the weather a little bit, and we weren't able to do it. So that's why we are doing it here today, where we're going to talk all things The Flash in a full, open, spoilery way. So if you've not seen the film, you have been warned. We're going to go into all the spoilers in this movie here on this stream. So there you have it. I'm joined in here by Ray Ora.
Hi.
Jonathan Boyko's over there. And we're going to spend basically all of our time here taking your questions that you have about Flash and all the observations, comments, theories that you have about the movie. But before we get to all of those, and by the way, we still have the super chats open, and we're only going to leave them open for a few more minutes. But if you have a comment, theory, thought, observation about Flash, go ahead and use the super chat feature and fire that in. But so here's my basic thing. Everybody know, if you've watched the channel, you know, I loved this movie. I thought it was fantastic. As I said, coming out of the debut of it at CinemaCon last month, I do not believe it is one of the greatest comic book films of all time, as some people were saying that it was before we saw it. But I do think it was great. Had a wonderful time with it. I thought the third act was a little scattered, a little frantic, a little bit scattered. But I loved the movie. I saw it again the other night. I liked it even more the second time I saw it. Absolutely thought it was terrific. Now, we made some videos earlier today about the fact that this movie completely flopped. I mean, it's just his first weekend, but it had a terrible first weekend, and not as many of you saw it as I thought you would. But there it is. They projected it for 70 million opening weekend, made 55, whatever, however. I thought the movie was wonderful. I loved Ezra playing against themselves in it. I thought that part worked great. I loved Sasha Calle. Is that what we were saying? Calle. As Supergirl, I thought she was wonderful. Michael Keaton stole the movie. That scene near the end when he's taking the tomato sauce out of his mother's cart, knowing that he's killing her mother by doing so, emotionally moved me and shook me. The little George Clooney thing at the end, the "who the fuck is this guy" line, I thought it was great. By the way, that whole George Clooney, Andy, that confirms Flash is done. Right? I thought maybe there was a possibility that Flash would end, and whatever state the universe was in when Flash was over, that's would be the building foundations for the new version of the DCEU. But with George Clooney getting out of that car,
right.
Well, it's like, well, I highly doubt George Clooney's going to be Batman in Brave and the Bold. Yeah. So that pretty much just confirmed that it's done. This kind of ends this whole thing. There's not going to be any more discussion about Ezra Miller continuing on as Flash.
I like the way George Clooney walked out of the car looking like George Clooney. Like he had no interest in trying to even look like a Bruce Wayne.
He totally looked like a Bruce Wayne.
No, he looked like George Clooney going to the Golden Globes.
Okay. No, how did Michael Keaton look like Bruce Wayne?
No, I know what he's getting at. But I think this was his version of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, a debonair, rich that's what George Clooney is, a debonair, rich international playboy.
Did you see his dress shirt?
He is Bruce Wayne.
It was a plaid blue open. That's not Bruce Wayne.
Because you're used to the brooding Affleck. So he's just like, this is going to destroy the world, man. It's going to suck. Everything sucks. And this version of Bruce Wayne is like, hey, what's happening, man?
You know, I like the way he's like, what's wrong with you, Barry?
I've never seen the George Clooney Batman, so I'm just teasing all
Well, you're not missing out on
We didn't see his nipples, so.
Yeah, you got to skip out on the bat nipples. So overall, I thought it was great. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about my thoughts on it. You already know that I liked it a lot. So let's dive into it here, shall we? Let's go over and start getting your thoughts, theories, opinions, and thoughts about The Flash. So let's get into it. Jonathan, what do we got?
All right, first up, we got Phoenix King Theo. I was hoping when Zod said they found Cavill showing up and him and Kara fought, is it just me, or did this movie seem like they had an anti-Cavill bias?
Oh, Phoenix King, no, I don't think so. That's ridiculous. That's an absolute ridiculous statement. No, it didn't feel like it had any more than it had an anti-cyborg bias or an anti-Batgirl bias or an anti-anything. No, I mean, Henry Cavill's not in it, but there was not the slightest hint of an anti-Cavill feel to it.
And we saw Cavill in the little circle of the flat where he was popping out going like this.
You saw Cavill's Superman in the news on the news screen, but you didn't see Cavill.
Right.
No. In the turning thing, he was like this, the gold version of him.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
they weren't. I just think if you put Cavill in the movie, he would have beat Zod. So there's no story there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really, really like. I was afraid, because, I don't like the idea of jobbing Superman. I was afraid that they were going to have Supergirl come into this movie and Supergirl was going to just beat the shit out of Zod.
No way.
And I'm like, and they were just going to kind of show up Superman. But instead, they went the other way, that in everything, Zod beats her. And I thought that was a great way to make a great character that she was, but also not job the Henry Cavill version of Superman by saying, oh, even this girl who just got out of a red sun kryptonite chamber could come in and beat up Zod. Why couldn't Henry Cavill Superman beat up Zod? So I'm glad they didn't do that. That worked for me. All right, what's next?
Okay, we've got Storm Trader who writes, "Hi John, didn't enjoy the film unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad.
Shoddy CGI, weird character choices, odd pacing, and weirdly anticlimactic. I did enjoy the Eric Stoltz Back to the Future reference. I think the hype killed it for me. And also, Kevin Bacon was Tom Cruise's character in Top Gun in that world.
Yes, which is something to think about. But I got to say, obviously, we're all film fans. It's all subjective. So obviously, this is said with all respect. I disagree with every one of your things. I don't think the CGI was shoddy at all. I think a lot of people have a problem with the CGI as it was done within the Speed Force. But again, Chris and I have talked about this, that I think that was very clearly them saying that in the Speed Force stuff looks like this. It wasn't supposed to look real. It was supposed to look certain stylized. So I actually think they should have made it look even more stylized so people wouldn't confuse it. It's like, wait a minute, is that supposed to look real? But if you look at a number of other things in that movie, the visual effect of Ezra playing in scenes with themselves as Barry with Barry, that was the best looking of that I've seen in any movie ever. That looked incredible to me.
The part where I laughed at the CGI was there's just a couple moments in the final battle where Ezra's giving the other Barry orders, and you could tell he's not in that desert. It was pure green screen. That's the only parts that.
Think so? I never noticed that myself.
Because you could see the outline sort of behind his head, and the coloring was a little bit weird. Those were
now,
the
what
parts
if we
where
find out they actually shot the video out in
that
on
would
a
be crazy.
desert
But I think maybe some of the people are talking about that too. The Speed Force thing, I think it's that I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I just think it was a visual choice, but I think throughout most of the movie, I thought the visual effects were quite good. Again, questionable choices on style within the Speed Force. That is the stuff that looked the most questionable. That's the stuff that I think, again, they should have gone even more stylized to make it clear this isn't supposed to look real. But whatever. And I thought the story was great. I thought the characters were fantastic. Yeah, I loved it. But that's just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, Storm Trader's back. The opening action scene was horrendous in my opinion. Baby in a microwave. I get it's silly, but still.
Complete disagree. I think it's a top 3 best opening scene in a comic book movie ever.
Wow. It's good, man.
I mean, I thought
it's so good.
I thought the babies
love that
looked really
scene.
rubbery.
Yeah, the
weird.
babies did look
but
weird.
But in no way was I like, I forgave it over that. I was like, okay, the babies look rubbery, but you're not going to have real babies falling. And I'm like, whatever. I still enjoyed the movie,
That
Did
would
you
have
like
been
that
gutsy.
part, actually, Jonathan?
I liked the part. I just wish they weren't so. They were kind of like dancing babies.
See, they should have been gutsy. They should have actually thrown
Yeah.
babies off a roof.
Yeah, and then really done it.
All right, what's next?
All right, Chuck the Mystery. Hey, John, I think this is a 1 of 2 possibly. Love this film. My favorite scene was the what did you do fight between Supergirl and Zod. Sasha was fantastic in this role, so I wish we would have gotten more scenes with her. I kind of felt the same. But what do you think chances are that she plays the role in Women of Tomorrow over under 40%?
I'm going to go under 40%. I think, which is a shame, but narratively speaking, listen, that Supergirl, Kal-El never made it to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
We are starting this new DCU with Superman Legacy. So Superman makes it to Earth. She dies several times in this movie. And with the fact that this movie is going to end up being a bit of a flop, I don't think there's any imperative that they must use her as super.
Didn't they?
And which is too bad because I loved her in the role. I did, but I actually don't think. By the way, no insider information here. This is just me as a fan
It'll just
speculating.
trip up-
I don't think it'll be her.
I don't
just
either.
trip people up too, seeing that,
Probably.
and then people can't move on to this
Then
new
is this
thing.
DCEU still, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm going to guess it won't be her.
But I
Didn't
hope
Man-
James Gunn finds a part for her somewhere. for another character.
Didn't Man of Steel imply that Supergirl was on Earth?
Yes.
So there's
Because it in combination with the prequel comic to Man of Steel, when Henry Cavill finds the Kryptonian ship, he sees 2 pods. One pod has the skeleton in it, and one pod is open and empty. In the prequel comic, it showed that like 10,000 years earlier, when the ship crashed there, Kara Zor-El actually got out of the pod and wandered off into the distance. And what happened to her, we never found out. So whether they decide to pick up on that or do something different, we'll find out. All right, what's next?
Okay. Michael Jones writes, Deadline is emphasizing and a $20 super chat, by the way.
Thank you, Michael Jones.
Deadline is emphasizing the lack of actors promoting Flash as an important reason for the low box office weekend. Besides Noah Miller, Michael Keaton, Sasha Kaye, each made only 2 appearances, and Ben Affleck, none. Thoughts?
You know, we did a video earlier today about the financial troubles of Flash, and one of the things that I did point out, I gave 3 primary reasons. And one of them was no traditional press tour. You couldn't. Because Ezra Miller, the star of the film, could not be in front of reporters. Couldn't put Ezra in front of reporters because all they would ask about Ezra is, again, babies with guns and parents filing restraining orders and all this kind of stuff. And I don't think it's like the magic bullet that killed this movie, but it definitely had an impact on it 100%. Now, there are other things involved too, right? The fact that no DC movies have been successful lately. If you want to go back 4 or 5 DC movies deep, you had Birds of Prey, which made a little over $200 million worldwide total. You had James Gunn's Suicide Squad, which is awesome, but made under $170 million worldwide total. You had Black Adam with the world's biggest movie star, and they was in development for 15 years, made under $400 million worldwide. You had Shazam 2, a good movie that didn't even make $150 million worldwide. The biggest problem here is that the movie-going audience has given up. As a matter, you can make an argument that the movie-going audience never got on board with DC right from Man of Steel. One of my all-time favorite comic book movies. But you can make an argument, and a good one, that the audience never got on board with DC from the beginning. And they really abandoned it over the past 5 years or so. That's the big thing. Then, of course, all the controversies with Ezra was my second thing. And then the third thing was they couldn't do a traditional press tour, and that hurt it.
And it's unfortunate that people who actually like the movie, including the people who worked on the movie, can't really celebrate it as much as, they would without all the stuff, outside stuff. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad that they can't do that.
It's almost like it's the apology tour. Sorry. And I love the movie. I love it. I think it's great. Yeah. But it is what it is. All right, what's next?
It's like South Park. We're sorry. Actor Friend 90, your thoughts on people saying Christopher Reeve's cameo is disgusting and disrespectful? I love disgusting. Come on. He was my favorite Superman.
Idiotic. It's an absolutely idiotic statement. Tell me one way in which it's disrespectful.
It's beautiful, man.
It was a beautiful moment. It was but even if you didn't like the moment, even if you didn't like the way they did that whole thing with all the worlds colliding, even if you didn't like that, Superman standing there like this, looking at the old Supergirl, looking back up. How the fuck is that disrespectful?
That's how most people remember
There's nothing
him.
disrespectful.
That's how most people remember him.
I will add that most of the cheers in my screening on Sunday
was during
that moment.
In both, I was saying that earlier, in both screenings that I've seen this in, when that moment happens, big pop from the audience.
Now it's different from what Chris said, because she pointed out someone that
George Reeves.
George Reeves, which I never noticed in it. I didn't see him. 2 times I saw him, I didn't see it.
Yeah, but disrespect, that's a fucking idiotic thing to
That
say.
would make more sense with him than Chris Reeves.
Yeah, it's fine if you say, I didn't think it fit. I didn't think it worked. I thought it was bad. That's fine. Okay, that's cool. To say it was disrespectful is just fucking stupid. Just stupid. All right, what's next?
All right. Murray Reich, 1 of 2, writes, thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Tons of fun and humor. Loved the 2 Barrys. Was so great to see Michael Keaton back. The moment George Clooney's Batman showed up at the end, my friend next to me yelled, Bat nipples. I thought the same. And the audience laughed hysterically, and credit was a lame waste of time. I agree. The end credit scene.
The end credit scene, not the dog.
Not the dog as the credits playing. At our CinemaCon screening, it was the exact same movie. Because I had all these people that, John, you do know that the version you saw at CinemaCon is totally different from what the theatrical version is going to be. It's like, no, it's not. The only difference, the only change between the CinemaCon version we saw and the theatrical version we saw was that in the CinemaCon version, the movie ends with Barry saying, who the fuck is this guy? That's
And then
where
it goes
yeah.
dark.
So the next 15 seconds, the final 15 seconds of the movie where you actually see George Clooney, that wasn't in the CinemaCon thing. So coming in and seeing the movie go past that, and then we actually see, and by the way, we were talking about this beforehand. Like this, we already talked about, this totally confirms that Flash is done. The DCU is done. Because I had gone into it thinking maybe that if they show us who this new Batman is getting out of the car, because remember at CinemaCon, they didn't show us who got out of the car. I thought, oh, maybe whoever this is going to be Batman in Brave and the Bold. It would be ridiculous that we hadn't heard of any casting, but still, I thought maybe that's a possibility. With that being George Clooney, does anybody actually think George Clooney is going to be the Batman in Brave and the Bold?
No.
Nobody? Okay. So that pretty much confirms it. This is the end of the line for Flash. This is the end of the line for the DCU. I mean, obviously we got Blue Beetle coming. We got Aquaman 2 coming. But I mean, there is not going to be a Flash 2. This is it. This universe is done. I think that pretty much confirms it. All right. What's next?
All right. Orange Hand says, the CG of the people in the Chrono Ball was really bad, but I love the aesthetic of the colored spheres bearing film reel to represent each universe.
Again, the CG was perfect considering that's what they wanted it to look like. It's a question about whether or not you agreed with the style they decided to go for. Because remember, they went for a style that it's not supposed to be photorealistic.
Yeah.
It's supposed to have that feel inside the Chrono Bowl, inside the Speed Force thing.
Yeah.
It was supposed to look different.
It's almost like they're avatars of themselves. in
Yes. But that's the point of what Chris and I were saying was they should have gone even more stylized. Because I think by only stylizing it the amount they did, I think a lot of people in the audience looked at it and thought, oh, this is supposed to look real. And they're doing a bad job of making it look real, when that's not what they were going for. So they should have gone even more stylized.
Right.
So it was crystal clear to the audience that this isn't supposed to look real. Like you were just saying, Jonathan, these are more like avatars of these people within the Chrono Bowl. So I think that's probably one of the decisions I think they would make differently if they were to remake the movie today. All right, what's next?
Chuck the Mystery's back. When I saw the last scene, I was thinking of how interesting it would be if Clooney were training Damian in Brave and the Bold, though it won't happen. And then it didn't say if there's a part 2, but
Oh, there it
I
is.
have always loved Clooney as an actor, and imagine he could bring a real gravitas to an older Batman with a teen son under the direction of Muschietti. He doesn't have to act it like in the one he was in.
No, I like George Clooney is one of the great actors today. He's one of the last true movie stars, you know, as in the old Hollywood movie stars. He's one of the last of that breed that carries that aura about him, right? Like when the Cloon steps on the scene, whether he's got a Maul on one arm or Stacy Keibler on the other, when Cloon shows
got a Cary
up,
Grant-esque.
he's got a very Cary Grant kind of aura about him, right? When he shows up in a room, you know he shows up in a room. And he's a terrific actor. But yeah, I would, to stay with the wrestling theme, there is no chance in hell that he's going to be Batman and Brave and the Bold. I just can't see that. Again, no insider information. That's just me as a fan saying I highly doubt we're going to see that. All right, what's next?
D-Train writes, so apparently they had an ending with Keaton and Kaye at the courthouse. That would have been a better ending, but some idiot decided to have Clooney instead. Really smart thinking. Do better, WB.
I think
They should hire you,
okay,
D-Train.
as much as I love Keaton and Kaye, or Kaye, as much as I love them in the movie, the idiotic thing would have been having them at the courthouse at the end.
Because he had supposedly...
Yeah,
fixed
like
things.
if you follow the movie, story-wise to the movie, that would have been an absolutely preposterous thing to do at the end. And it would have undone everything that he had done in the movie. It would have undone the whole storyline for him there. So I'm not saying putting George Clooney in was the stroke of genius, but
Yeah.
I think having Keaton and Kaye at the end would have been a very bad decision.
It had to show there was still some difference in putting that
Yeah,
can.
that it changed everything.
Yeah.
And it was mostly the same,
Yeah.
right? Everything was mostly the same until George Clooney got out.
No, I'm going to up his thing. I'm going to say it should have been Zod and his
Whoa.
right-hand man in business suits waiting outside the courthouse.
I am here to argue for my people.
He was innocent the whole time. But he's still wearing
God,
the glass.
attorney-
He's still wearing the
Attorney
glass.
at law.
He's still has the glass mask on. Zod, attorney at law, coming soon in the
The jury
DCU.
was correct.
My people.
Oh, my people.
What's next?
Cody Carroll says, so Flash can heal fast from lightning to the chest that left a hole in him, but it took a while to heal from a gunshot wound in the leg.
I thought the exact same thing.
You guys think too much then.
Re-
Maybe it's because it was lightning.
No, granted. Okay, I'll give them this. When he got struck by lightning, it didn't just zoop, fixed. It's a few seconds pass, a little bit of time passed. Barry gets on. He's like, okay, it'll heal, it'll work. And then slowly it starts to heal. Okay, so yeah, he gets shot in the leg and he's limping for a bit. By the time we move to the next scene, he's walking normal again. But I agree with you. I thought the same thing. It's like, okay, how long will it take this little bullet hole in the leg to heal? I don't know. Maybe the damage is worth.
It was young Barry. Let's not forget, it was young Barry. He's never been shot before, so maybe it's a mental thing.
But the lightning through his chest healed quickly.
Healed.
Young Barry. Remember, once he got hit by the lightning, it healed. But again, it didn't heal instantaneously. So I'll give them a little bit of leeway on that. But I thought maybe it should have healed a little faster.
I'll give him leeway because they made me laugh like hell when he just took one step and walked into the loud trash can.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
I thought the humor in this movie worked really well. That was one of the best
It's
things
like
about
you
it.
saw it coming.
Like,
I mean,
it
they
wasn't
showed
even
you
a
the
full
broom
step.
already.
It just,
Oh, yeah.
boom.
All right, what's next?
All right. Chuck the Mystery writes, I've always loved Clooney as an actor and imagine he could bring a real gravitas to an older Batman with a teen
We
son.
already read this.
Oh, yeah, that was the part
That was
two.
part 2, yep.
All right. Ethan Holgate writes, there are 2 superhero movies I would give my left nut to see John, and that's, you'd give your left nut to John, and that's James Cameron, Superman, and
Spider-Man.
Or Spider-Man and Superman Lives. I love how they incorporated the spider concept art from that movie and Nick Cage.
Okay, so here's the thing about that. Only people who have either seen John Schnepp's documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, or have seen that. If you haven't watched this, you absolutely must. Kevin Smith in An Evening with Kevin Smith. You can find this clip on YouTube talking about how Kevin Smith wrote a Superman movie that Tim Burton was going to direct and Nicolas Cage was going to star in. And he tells a story about how the producer, John Peters, was insisting that whatever you do with this script, Superman's got to fight a giant spider at the end.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. Before Kevin Smith wrote a single word, he said, the producer said to Kevin Smith, okay, couple things. Number 1, no cape. I don't want to see Superman in a cape. Number 2, I don't want to see him flying. Superman can't fly. And to which Kevin Smith is like, we are talking about Superman, right? And number 3, he's got to fight a giant spider in the 3rd act. That was the only direction that the producer gave Kevin Smith when he's writing his script for Nicolas Cage's Superman. And so for that thing to come up where it's Nicolas Cage's Superman, and then you realize, oh my God, he's fighting a giant spider. Only, I think probably 5% of the people in the movie theater fully understood what kind of glory was going on the screen at that moment.
At our showing, I audibly heard 2 people.
Yeah, going.
One on the side
yeah.
and one behind me.
Yep.
The guy behind me knew everything.
Not many people did,
yeah.
but it is glorious. When you know the actual story and then to see that on screen, it's glorious.
I'd be shocked if the guy behind you knew that but didn't know who you 2 were.
No. He knew because he was like, oh my God. The guy behind me knew every cameo. It seemed like he was ready for this movie. It seemed like he was having a good
all
time.
our videos.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Cody Carroll writes, Robert Burnett said on the show today that without John's Superman documentary, that Nick Cage scene wouldn't have happened, and I'd like to believe that.
Oh, I said that a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I completely agree.
I'll always believe that.
I honestly believe like a lot of the people in the world today who know about that is because of John Schnepp's The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened document. 100%.
I would have never known about that, even till now.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Cody Carroll just did. Mauricio, TF was pretty good, but not great.
Transformers?
Oh, The Flash. That's for The Flash.
Oh, The Flash.
It was pretty good, but not great. I was expecting to like it more than I actually did. What I definitely did not expect was to see Clooney come back.
Yeah, I got to admit, I think somebody probably even asked me a number of months ago, do you think Clooney will pop in? I said, no way. No way. Clooney pops up in there. It was a perfect little cameo.
Yeah.
I was really glad that they did that. All right, what's next?
Ethan Holgate writes, have to say, John, I feel bad for Ezra Miller because watching him in this movie just shows how great of an actor he is. Such a shame he effed things up.
It's hard to feel. Look, I feel like the situation is a shame. I'm not going to say I feel bad for Ezra Miller because it's difficult to feel bad for somebody's whose wounds are self-inflicted.
Yeah. I feel more bad for the cast and all the crew.
Yeah, I feel like the whole situation is a shame. It's a shame because Ezra is an extremely talented actor. Extremely talented actor. And I'm not just talking about playing Barry. I'm talking about all their other work as well. Ezra is a great actor. But, as I've said for well over a year, Ezra should never be Flash again. I understood why. It still surprises me to this day when I hear this really, really dumb comment. It's like, well, they fired Johnny Depp. They should have fired Ezra. Well, okay, yeah, but they fired Johnny Depp because they hadn't shot the movie yet. They hadn't shot that Fantastic Beasts movie. It wasn't shot yet, so they could fire. I guarantee you, if all the nonsense that Ezra did over the past couple of years happened before they shot the movie, they would have gotten rid of Ezra. I 100% guarantee you they would have. But they actually shot the movie prior to Ezra doing most of the idiocy that Ezra did. So they're two totally separate situations. But again, I think it is such a shame that somebody with so much talent has squandered it the way they did.
But you know what they do have is they have some time to clean this up,
sure, yes,
fix it up, whatever, through the legal system, whatever. They're only 30 years old.
Yeah, and remember too, as of right now, other than a misdemeanor breaking and entering, Ezra Miller has not been charged with any crimes. Ezra Miller has not been found guilty in any court of anything, isn't even facing charges of anything. There could still be charges coming in the future. But as of right now, that's it. Ezra Miller can make a comeback. I'm just saying Ezra Miller, this is what I said for the good year though. Ezra Miller can make a comeback, but Ezra Miller, as long as something big doesn't come up in court at some point. Yeah. But Ezra should never play Flash again.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, what's next?
All right. Cody Carroll says, do you know why John's documentary says unavailable? I went to rewatch it and had to settle for a YouTube version of it. Wish I would have bought the DVD.
Well, I mean, it costs money to print and create physical media. I wouldn't be surprised if all the physical media, but it's got to be available somewhere. I know it's streamed on
Showtime.
Yeah, it's streamed on Showtime.
There's
got to be digital availability for it somewhere.
And I think it showed on a public channel like for a week during a superhero week on Discovery or National Geographic.
It might be. I mean, it just may. The home for it may now be on YouTube. I haven't kept up with where they put it, so that might be the official home of it now. So I'm not sure.
I actually have 2 copies of that Blu-ray.
I have one.
I bought 2 of them.
I have one copy.
One to open and then one for him to sign, but I never had the chance to get him because he passed away after.
I got the copy I have. I'll always treasure it because Schnepp gave me the copy of it. He did a 2-night premiere of Death of Superman. Death of Superman Lives What Happened at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. And on night 1, he had Kevin Smith do the moderated and did the Q&A for it afterwards. And on night 2, I got to do the moderation and do the Q&A. And that night, that's the night Schnepp gave me my copy of it. I had seen it already, but I didn't have my own physical copy of it. And that's, so that will always be very, very special to me.
He was so appreciative when I bought it too.
All right, what's next?
Mauricio writes, Warner Brothers Batfleck wants out. What do we do? Hamada, let's bring back an even older version of Batman than Batfleck. WB, great idea. Who cares about a Batman in his prime? The audience will love Batgirl. AT&T sells off WB to Discovery. Keaton's back as Batman. What a stupid idea. Gunn and Safran agreed. We should instead bring back the most hated Batman in cinematic history. Sounds good. I think it was all done in jest.
First of all, Mauricio, all due respect, but what the fuck are you talking about? People loved when they heard that Michael Keaton was coming back as Batman. Now, granted, I also loved the news of it, but nobody wanted Michael Keaton to be the new Batman in a new series of Batman movies.
That's not what was ever going to
Yeah,
happen.
no, if you don't believe that people were thrilled when they heard, you weren't paying attention, because people loved hearing that.
Is he trying to say whatever Keaton's in right now, like let's say this Flash movie, and also the Batgirl, it should have been Affleck playing that role?
Or
Is that what
someone
he's trying to say?
younger.
Oh,
But it doesn't even make sense.
But now that you brought up, let me bring this up. On the trailer, we see Batfleck, right? In the on a motorcycle. I'm like, I love seeing that blue suit Batman. I gotta say, when he got off that bike and he stood up, were those like Calphalon frying pans on him? Because that suit didn't look good when he stood up.
You know me, I don't care about what a suit
Yeah,
looks
but
like,
did you
so
look
I
at
didn't
it?
notice. I
That
didn't
looked
notice.
horrible. It was like a Ghostbusters uniform with frying pans on it.
I didn't notice.
Oh, you watch it, man. It would be like, oh, yeah, he should have stayed on the motorcycle.
So I would say, number one, I don't think you were paying attention to how the audience responded when came out that Michael Keaton was going to make an appearance as Batman. People loved it. And I was only in one theater because they didn't show it at CinemaCon. But at the theater we saw it at the other night, when Clooney came on screen, people erupted. In our theater, people thought it was hilarious. I mean, it was meant to be a joke. It was meant to be fun. So I thought it worked.
Oh, actually, I think Mauricio was joking because he sent another one.
Okay, well, I hope Mauricio was joking because it's like,
we can also say as time goes on and technology goes on, the best Batmans will eventually become the worst Batmans. You know, if we go by that, like, you know, we're constantly improving characters in movies. That your favorite Batman, like 20 years from now, may not be your favorite. It might be the worst one now.
By the way, I'll say this too. After watching this movie, I am really extra grateful that they never released the Batgirl movie, because it makes no sense that Michael Keaton was going to be in that.
I was really
It made no
wondering,
sense
like,
whatsoever.
How was Michael Keaton in that one if this was,
Unless it was supposed to be a prequel to Flash, like in Michael Keaton's universe, like happens 1 year before the events of the Flash.
Yeah. And then it ends with the Flash showing,
No, it ends with Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne saying, okay, Gotham is now crime-free. I retire, or something like, I don't know.
A documentary on Batgirl would be great. Just like Superman Lives.
Yes.
That would be
The death
great.
of Batgirl, what happened?
If Schnepp was here, he would probably be on that, man.
Except for one thing. WB wouldn't give them
because they're not giving us anything.
Any information.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. CJ Rebirth writes, I did enjoy Keaton, Sasha, and Ezra as both Barrys. Also, having lost my own mom, I felt emotional when Barry talked to his mom. Oh, yeah, in the store at the end. That must have ripped up anybody that's gone through that.
Dude, the three guys in front of us, I just saw them, and I was like, okay, I'm not the only weird one in here going like this.
Well, you know what that means. You're dooming her to, like, a terrible death.
Well, like like the fact that Barry knew by pulling this can out of this cart, I am killing her. I'm killing this woman.
And this
by
whole
taking-
problem started with him trying to save her.
Yeah.
It's her, and literally every multiversal world in the universe is gone. So,
all right, what's next?
all right. Mauricio writes, sarcasm aside, if the idea really is to have Bat Clooney in the Brave and the Bold and other DCU projects, hats off to Gunn and Safran for having bat balls.
And bat nipples. No chance in hell. No way is Clooney going to be the Batman in Batman Brave and the Bold. I just, again, I'm not saying that as if somebody at Warner Brothers told me that. This is just me as a fan speculating, but I just don't see any chance in hell that, number one, George Clooney would ever do it. Like, it's one thing just to show up there and kind of do a little thing, but no way that's going to happen. All right, what's next?
All right. Bry Guy writes, I loved how Barry was also a Metropolis trying to help during the Man of Steel finale. Thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I kind of really enjoy it when they look back at another movie or a scene we know. We've talked about this in a couple movies happened recently, but you realize something else was also going on at the same time. So Barry's saying, hey, I'd just become the Flash and I was actually there trying to save, and I was only managed to save one kid or whatever. I really kind of like it when movies, as long as it's not changing what happened in that scene, but rather giving us a bit of a different perspective of it. I like seeing that stuff. That's kind of
And
cool.
what a brutal scene. You know that father had to die by getting slapped on the pavement.
All right, what's next?
Tristan Thorpe thought it was okay, felt the pacing was quick, and so I never felt the emotional drama side of things. Also could have used more scenes of present-day Barry with his parents.
Look, all movies hit us all in different ways. And if that's the way it struck you, your perception of it and your take on it is no less valid than mine. Mine was different. I don't think I honestly felt like we spent a little bit too much time in the present day Barry. I thought maybe they should have gotten into it a little bit sooner in it. And for me, the emotional moments really did hit well. I'll be honest with you. I feel like if they spent any more time on it, then it would have started to feel forced and manipulative. Yep. Instead, it just felt very natural to me, which is weird to say about a movie about a guy who runs so fast he turns back time. But yeah, I totally respect your point of view on that. I think it's well stated. Mine's a little bit different. I think it worked well on that point. All right, what's next?
All right, Tristan Thorpe is back and writes, I will say that I think Schnepp would have appreciated that Nick Cage as Superman cameo. Missed the big lovable guy.
I more than appreciate it because, like I said, that was in there because of Schnepp's documentary.
And they would have communicated that to him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally would have communicated it to him. 100%. 100%. And that aside, forget the Nicolas Cage and giant spider battling aside. I think Schnepp would have loved this movie. I think this is a movie that was right up his alley.
Yeah, he would have found every good point there is about that and like kept anything negative minimal. He would have loved it that much.
I think he would have loved it. All right, what's next?
Bry Guy writes, that grocery store scene at the end really got me. Yeah, the third act is a CGI fest, but it led up to the most emotional scene of the film. Loved it.
See, here's the thing. I've seen some movies before where somebody has to make the choice not to save somebody, right? That's powerful enough as it is. The way Andy Muschietti set it up in this movie was Ezra couldn't just stand by and not save his mother. He actually had to actively go up and take the can out. He actually had to take action to ensure that his mother would die. Think about that. There's a difference between saying, I'm just going to stand back as much as it hurts and not going to save my mother. But in this moment, Barry actually had to actively do something that would ensure his mother dies. That's
and what's crazy is that he's experienced the life without her. He's suffered all those years. He's seen what she's missed, and then he makes that choice.
Yeah.
It's a tough, because he's gone through like missing her.
Yep.
You know,
and now then he thought for a little while that he got her back, and now has to lose her again. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay. Benimus Prime writes, I saw the movie with my mom, and she said she got emotional even when she saw the Chris Reeve cameo. Definitely an experience I won't forget.
Oh.
Yeah, again, one of the biggest pops in the theater both times I saw the movie was that Christopher Reeve appearance. I mean, then having the old Supergirl fly in and stand beside him as well, I thought that was a little weird,
great.
But whatever. All right, what's next?
A little Superman 4 there. Chris Herman writes, the George Reeves cameo felt distasteful to me. Playing Superman ruined his life and allegedly caused his death. He wouldn't have wanted to be in this.
That's the one
it's very difficult to say what somebody would or would not have wanted. I don't know if they had to get the permission of George Reeves' estate and family. Yeah. If they did get that permission, and permission was given by the family, who would know better than anybody else, then I'm fine with it. If there's some loophole that didn't, then that might feel a little distasteful. Again, I say that as somebody who doesn't know all the information. Again, if the family gave their blessing, the family, descendants gave their blessing, I'm perfectly okay with it. If they did not, and there was just some kind of legal way, well, because it's this old, we don't need to get family's permission, and they just did it, then maybe that would feel a little distasteful. I will say this, though. I guarantee you 96 out of 100 people who watch this movie had no idea about George Reeves' history with the character and all that kind of stuff. So it probably wouldn't have played that way to most people. But yeah, if they just did it.
To him, though.
Yeah, it was paying homage to it. It was done in a classy way.
I mean, I don't get it.
But again, I don't know. You can find a problem with anything if you look hard enough. But with that particular situation, I get it. I get why some people would look at that and feel a little distasteful. Like the Christopher Reeve one, I don't get that at all. But the George Reeves one, that one I could see how you'd look at it that way. I can. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Bry Guy who writes, I haven't seen this much online hatred nitpicking for a DC film since the Man of Steel BVS days. Like those, I think this will age well because it's good.
Whether it's good or not is a matter of personal opinion. See, this is what makes me laugh. I got to say this. And I say this as somebody who loves this film. All right, I love this movie. But I love it when other people don't like certain things about a movie you like. We just call it nitpicking. Like, right? If somebody has problems with the movie and we didn't like that movie, that's them being honest. If somebody doesn't like a movie and you do, then you're saying you're just nitpicking. People aren't nitpicking. There are things in the movie that don't sit well with people, just like you have things in movies that don't sit well with you. But it is a pattern amongst film fans that does drive me a little bit crazy, where if you hate a movie and somebody else says bad things about it, you go, that's being honest. If you love a movie and somebody else is saying bad things about it, you go, you're just nitpicking. No, just somebody watched the movie and didn't like things about it that you did. I mean, here's what nitpicking is. You know what nitpicking is? Batman got off his bike and it looked like he had frying pans.
Yeah, but I laugh at it, but right? I still like the movie.
Yeah. But see, like little insignificant details like that, that's nitpicking. To say, I didn't like the visual look of the film, that's not nitpicking. Yeah. To say, I don't think the humor worked, that's not nitpicking. To say, I didn't like the way the story unfolded, that's not nitpicking. He should
be taller than Batman. He should be shorter than Batman.
That's nitpicking.
That's nitpicking.
Like when you're just picking at insignificant details that didn't really change much about the movie. But there are people who have, again, and I say this as somebody who loves this movie, there are people who have legitimate critiques of the film. And I think it's perfectly fine. All right, what's next?
Matt with Pepsi writes, I don't know why that made me laugh. Matt with Pepsi writes, to me, this movie was great time at the movies. Do you think under Gunn that after this movie, he will want to get the ball rolling for the new Flash? Also, first time writing in, love the show.
Oh, thank you, Matt with Pepsi. Yes, there's going to be when they do get around to having a Flash in the new DCU, it will not be Ezra Miller. It's going to be a new Flash. 100%.
Chapter 1 or Chapter 2? It's Chapter 2, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a Chapter 2 character.
As opposed to the first 8 or 9 projects they got lined up is being called Chapter 1. Yeah. It'll be a Chapter 2 thing because they've already listed off all their. Well, they did say here's most of Chapter 1, so there still will be a couple of more projects. But I think we will get a Flash in James Gunn's DCU. It'll be a new Flash, and I agree with Ray. I think it'll be sometime in Chapter.
I think we'll actually get a Green Lantern at some point too.
Chapter 2.
Well, no, that's already a part of Chapter 1. They've got Lanterns.
Oh, Chapter 1. Oh,
yeah,
right.
Lanterns is already listed as one of the projects they're doing.
Yep.
All right, let's do one more before we take our first break here. What's next?
A. Marcellus writes, a favorite scene was when Barry asks Bruce if he wants to grab a bite to eat, and Bruce kindly says no. You can just feel the pain and loneliness that Bruce still carries despite having a support net. I'll
tell you what, one of my favorite moments in the movie came moments after that.
Wait. I don't recognize the scene that he's talking about. What part of the movie?
It's when Barry comes back from his first excursion into the Speed Force. And then he's talking to Bruce out in the street. And he told Bruce what happened.
The Affleck Bruce?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Affleck
now I remember.
One of my favorite moments in the movie takes place just after that as Bruce drives away and Iris comes up and says, you got fancy friends? He goes, oh no, that's Uber. Uber exec.
Excel.
Uber exec. I thought that was hilarious. He said, it's an Uber when you have this manly car, this amazing car. He's like, oh, no, it's Uber. I love that line. I thought that was great. All right, guys, listen, we've got a lot more to cover and a lot more to go through with The Flash. We're going to talk a whole bunch more, but we're going to take just a quick break here and thank one of the sponsors of today's show, our friends at Rocket Money. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to Rocket rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money for sponsoring this episode. All right, let's get back into it, shall we? Jonathan, what do we got?
Okay, Luke1234 writes, I'm disappointed they never played the iconic 89 Elfman score, just remixes of the theme.
Well, what did you expect them to do? I mean, stop the movie and just play the score? Like, there was clearly a lot of that score was in the movie, like on many occasions through it, especially that one scene when he's taking out the air cover and he's flying the Batwing. You got a big, heavy dose of that bomb. Like it was, I thought it was so great. Good, like, I don't know what you're expecting, that they would just stop the movie and like put on the score. I thought they was in it a lot.
They even had the callback of the Batwing in the moon.
Yeah, they even did a little bit of that.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, we got Future Millionaire. Congratulations. Just saw the movie with both my son and my mom, 3 generations, and we all enjoyed the movie very much. Kudos to Andy Muschietti. I'm not gonna lie, when Michael Keaton says I'm Batman, got chills.
Okay, I'm gonna say this, and this is a nitpick. I thought him going, yeah, I'm Batman. It's like, that was a great callback to the original movie. Perfect. Great. But once was enough. I did not like them using the line, okay, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. It's like, okay, but you already kind of did that with him going, I'm Bat. And he was standing in the exact same spot. Remember? He was standing in the exact same spot as when he said the first line, I'm Batman. It's like, did you have to go back to it again? I thought that was going back to the well one too many times.
I like that line.
I didn't mind it, but the pacing of it, he took a little too much of a beat between the let's get nuts part.
Yeah,
like,
I just felt like it was pushing it a bit much. But again, that's a nitpick.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, Super Sany 13 writes, love this movie, John. I have my 2 favorite Batmans in one film. Was amazing. Keaton and Ben were awesome. I hope this film has legs and makes a profit.
It will not. It ain't gonna make a profit. I'll tell you that. And again, I say this as somebody who loves this movie, but it's gonna flop.
Well, you know who's happy about that? Kind of is that they don't have no problem moving on from this DCU anymore.
I think they would rather have the problem than have $500 million more dollars.
I'm just kidding, man.
I'd rather not go to the store and pick up another loaf of bread. But if it's going to put $400 million more in my bank account, I'll deal with it. I mean, yeah, the movie's going to flop. Yeah. But again, and I know this has always been a hot take, Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman. I love the way he plays Batman. I know, like Christian Bale, who is magnificent and a better actor than than Ben Affleck. And I think Ben Affleck's a great actor, but I think Christian Bale is just a little bit better. I've always said this before. I never got the sense that Bale's Batman understood that Bruce Wayne is the mask. Bruce Wayne is the fake personality and Batman's the true personality. I never got that sense. I always got that sense with Ben Affleck's Batman. That Ben Affleck understood that in the dark alley, Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne died and Bruce Wayne died and the Batman was born. And I've never really felt like any of the other iterations of Batman understood that as much as Ben Affleck's Batman did. And I'm not saying Ben Affleck, but I'm saying Ben Affleck's Batman. And that's why I love his Batman. And I love seeing him any little glimpse we get to see him, whether it's in a little tiny bit in Suicide Squad or a little tiny bit in Flash. I just love seeing him as Batman.
And him incorporating the kitchen on his new
yeah, with all the pans. Very
never be hungry.
Very creative.
I would submit.
Never be hungry.
I would submit that Twilight Boy understands that.
Yeah, he got, except.
But he's young, so.
No. The one problem, and I love Robert Pattinson's Batman. The one problem is, there was no Bruce Wayne.
Yet.
Right? Even when he was out in public,
yeah.
Where was the charming philanthropist playboy?
Well,
right?
He's coming.
I hope that's coming. But again, nobody did it as well as Ben
My
did.
theory on it, not to linger on it too long, but that whole Wayne fund and understanding the importance of that money and the flow of money, he's going to have public life now.
Yep.
All
right. What's next?
Justin D writes, overall okay. Like Chris, I felt the movie wasn't done. The CGI on the babies, Ezra's face. Just Ezra's face. Carol wasn't good. Take more time. Put out a finished product.
This was a finished product.
Take more time.
They took enough time.
This movie, they started shooting this movie like 3 years ago. This was a finished product. This had nothing to do with time. It was about stylized choices that again, it's fair to have some criticism of the choices they made for the style. I totally get that. They had all the time in the world to make this the way they wanted to do it. This was not an issue of time. This was a matter of creative choices that they made that worked for some people, didn't work for others. Totally fair.
Move on.
But yeah, and it was what it was. All right.
I was afraid I wasn't going to like Kara, and I loved her.
Oh, I thought Kara was fantastic. I thought she was great.
Yeah. Richard 22Z writes, maybe one of the worst opening scenes ever. Justice League level bad. This film was okay, but Barry and his mom is what saved it for me.
Again, I could not disagree more. I think that opening scene is one of the 3 best opening scenes ever. Like the whole thing, like when he's looking, when the babies go out the window, I'm like, holy fuck. This is like, what's the worst possible thing you can imagine?
And it's hard. It was actually hard to like accept that I'm watching babies fall out a window.
But you know what?
Yeah, because it's so horrible.
Yeah.
You can't imagine.
That ruined it for me
I
was
thought
that
it
they got
was
all rubbery.
fantastic.
It's corny, but it's really good.
When the babies went out the window, they looked real, but when they were falling to me, they still looked rubbery.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if they looked a little.
It didn't ruin it for me.
Like, because in my head, the story of what's happening, I thought it was absolutely, I don't care if everybody else in the world didn't like it. Although in the audiences we saw it in, there was a lot of cheering and hollering. But I don't care if everybody else in the world thinks differently. I fucking love that opening.
If anything, they never played into him being hungry after that too much. It never affected him too much.
Yeah,
after.
I'm
you know,
glad
because
they
I thought that was the whole thing to introduce the hunger.
they did.
His
like,
younger version
like,
was...
remember when they were in Bruce's thing, right? And the spaghetti came out? What did young Bruce do? Or young Barry.
Right.
Like constantly stuffing his face when he can. Or a little bit later when young Barry gets his powers, like, I'm like always hungry all the time. So they did reference back to that.
Yeah, but it wasn't vital, like to like beating anybody.
No, but which is good because you'd think that Flash would understand what Flash needs to do and stay, keep his calorie count up. Yeah, pull a Popeye. All right, what's next?
Johnny Wiener writes, I find the movie pretty good. I don't mind CGI distraction. A lot of people getting it at, but it works. It meant to be put off because what the actual Speed Force is supposed to look like. Love the cameos. Nick Cage and Clooney is my favorite.
Yeah, I got. By the way, that was a $20. That was a $20 super chat. Thank you, Johnny. Again, it's the style's choice that they decided to make, and we can debate about whether that was a good style choice. But here's the reality: whether it was photoreal or not, it wouldn't change how you felt about the movie. Like, when there's questionable, now listen, I used to work in visual effects. I used to work in a visual effects company. This is what I used to do to earn my living and pay my rent. So I appreciate and I keep a lot of eye on visual effects. But whether a shot looked really photoreal or not, it doesn't really change the way the quality of the movie overall. Like, you either liked the story and the story that was being told, or you didn't. And it's a great added bonus when the visual effects are really sharp and they look great. In your opinion, if they looked really great to you and you loved them and all that kind of stuff, that's great. That's bonus. That's garnish. But if you weren't liking the movie and the visual effects were spectacular, it doesn't change it to a movie that you liked. If you liked the story and the way the story and the narrative that was unfolding, but the visual effects didn't look top notch, it doesn't suddenly turn it into a movie you didn't like. So it's noticeable. And I say this as somebody who worked in visual effects, but it's not ultimately super important as to whether you like the movie or not. It's bonus, it's extra, it's garnish, it's environment building. So it's an important part of making a film, but it's not a super influential thing about whether I think at the end of the day it was a well-told story or not. I think those are two different separate things, but that's just me. All right, thanks for that again. And thank you again for sending in a $20 super chat, man. That's really generous of you, Johnny. All right, what's next?
Johnny's back and says, I do wish Keaton, Batman, and Kara made it out alive. They didn't technically die because he changed the timeline.
Well, I mean, they did die and then they got wiped out of existence.
Or back to their universe. I don't know.
Yeah, so, I mean, but it looked like they prevented all that. I don't know. They left a little bit of that.
They could have go anywhere they want to.
Yeah, it could be anywhere
it's
there.
Your interpretation. But
I think it would have added just more confusion if they didn't. If they had survived, I think it adds more confusion. I think the fact that they definitively said that Batman that we saw in the movie died and that Supergirl we saw in the movie died, I think it makes it more definitive.
And you know how Toby, well, not anymore ever since the news, but remember when No Way Home was coming out? I thought those two came back just so they could say bye, like to unfinished business. I think this was Keaton's, I played Batman before. Do you see him coming back in DC, the new DC?
No.
Yeah, so this was a good goodbye to me.
Yeah, but the difference
he's like, you brought me back, kid.
The difference between Michael Keaton's and Toby Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's is that both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield went out on a sour note, right? The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was, to put it kindly, just nowhere near as good as the first Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, was considered by almost everybody universally as the worst of the Spider-Man movies of that era, right? So they needed a way to come back, kind of as a redeeming way to come back and have one last hurrah. Whereas nobody looked back and say, well, too bad the way Michael Keaton ended his Batman, right?
It was
so I don't know. It was just a great nostalgia hit.
Yeah, but do you appreciate their characters more? Like both sets. Like I appreciate Garfield's Spider-Man more after No Way Home. Appreciate Tobey's more. Appreciate Keaton's more.
I will say I don't appreciate Keaton's anymore
because I never saw them. I never saw most of them.
Right, but I did. So
yeah.
I did make me appreciate Keaton more. I will say on the Spider-Man side, like I was never 100% sure who was my favorite Spider-Man. After watching No Way Home, I think No Way Home made me realize that Andrew Garfield was always my favorite Spider-Man. And I think to your point, I think you're right. It made me appreciate Andrew's a little bit more. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Dwayne Fernandez writes, hey, John, after watching The Flash, do you think the DCU is a soft reboot or do you think they're going to do a hard reboot? I think it's hard.
I think it's not 100% reboot. But I think it's going to be like a 95% reboot. Like it's going to be closer to a hard reboot than a soft reboot. And the way you can do it, you can say, well, wait a minute, Peacemaker's still going to be there. Yeah. But all you have to do is retcon one or two minor things in Peacemaker to say that Peacemaker was never in the DCEU to begin with. You retcon the one little scene at the end with Aquaman and Flash showing up saying, fuck you, Barry, which by the way is a great scene. But you just retcon that part out of it. You can just say that this Peacemaker was always in the new DCU. So you can hard reboot and still keep Peacemaker if you want to, because really other than that last little scene, and Waller is clearly coming over as well. So you put Peacemaker and Waller there. Other than that one little scene at the end, you can really, you can say you can make the argument that it was never in the DCEU if you retcon just those one or two minor things.
The first Superman Legacy trailer will tell us all we need to know about what's about
100%,
to happen. Yeah,
100%. All right, what's next?
Okay. Daniel Vakura writes, if Henry Allen kept his receipt, he gets off.
Ooh, that's true. It's like, what about the receipt?
Oh, now I hate this movie.
And here's the other thing. Was that the only security camera in the grocery store?
Apparently so.
There couldn't be one near the cash register where people could rob them?
Or the entrance?
Yeah, like no cameras there? But yeah, keeping the receipt would have helped.
Wearing your hat backwards.
Even just couldn't the police, when they came to the Allen's house,
that's the thing, they would identify the clothing.
They would have cataloged all the clothing there, and the police themselves should have said, well, that's the hat in the footage, and that's the jacket in the footage. Does anybody else in this city own that exact jacket and that exact hat? I mean,
you know the legal system's run by the Penguin, right?
Oh, that's right. Oswald Cobblepot.
What's funny
runs
is
the justice system.
You know, there was that Murtaugh Murders thing on Netflix. Part of what got him in trouble was the fact that they had him on like home video the day of the murder, and he had changed his clothes from when the police showed up. And we could not find the clothes that he had on earlier because he destroyed them. So I mean, that kind of thing works, you know.
All right, what's next?
Johnny Got Lost. One of two writes, after watching The Flash and reading Supergirl Woman of Today, I thought tomorrow. Yeah, that's fun. I think there's a possibility of Sasha being Supergirl in the DCU.
That's one of two. Is there another one?
Anything else here? James loved the movie, and her version of Kara is the same as jaded and badass Supergirl in that comic. Who cares if she dies at the end? Reboot, baby.
True. Reboot, yes.
I would love it.
However, I think maybe there would be a bigger argument for that if the Flash movie was a hit.
Yeah.
And this Flash movie is going to be a big flop. And it deserves to be a hit. It's so funny. People would argue with me, John, Flash is going to be $1 billion movie. I'm like, have you looked at the DC returns? Flash is not going to be $1 billion movie.
Oh,
but I still thought it could be successful. Right.
Yeah.
That was me. I owe you lunch. I'm surprised you haven't rained on me for that.
Oh, that's all
thank
right.
you.
But I mean, I even though I said it would never be $1 billion film, to call myself out, I did think it would be financially successful, and it ain't going to be financially successful. I was dead wrong about that.
I said 609 million or something like that.
Oh, man, they love it.
It's so because of that, I really, other than the fact that she played it well, she did play well. I loved her in this. That doesn't mean that there couldn't be 30 other actresses out there that I would not also love in the role of Supergirl, and maybe even better, and you wouldn't be carrying any baggage of the financial disaster that Flash is going to end up being over with you. So if you're a movie executive and you've still got 20, 30 other really great actresses who could play the role great, but one of them is going to remind people of a financial flop of the Flash movie, why wouldn't you start fresh? Again, I'm not telling you, James Gunn did not call me and tell me we're not going to keep her. No. This is just me as a fan speculating, just like you. I could be right, I could be wrong. I'm just saying the reason I believe we won't see her is because I just don't see why you would bring her back, right? If the movie was a big smash hit, then you've got a reason to bring her back. If the movie is not a big hit and is actually a flop, then what's your argument for bringing her back? Why does it have to be her instead of another very talented actress? I'm just throwing that out there. And listen, I wouldn't mind at all if she came back to be it. I just don't know what the rationale behind it would be, but that's just me. All right, what's next?
All right. We've got Karen Potts, who writes, to me, The Flash is number 2 on my list of DCU behind the Suicide Squad. The CGI didn't bother me, and the emotion of the story got me. Can of tomatoes.
I am right with you. The Flash is my number 2 favorite DCU film. Obviously, for me, my number 1 is Man of Steel, obviously. My number 2 would then be Flash. My number 3 would be James Gunn's Suicide Squad. My number 4 would then be the first Shazam movie. My number 5 would probably either be Wonder Woman or Batman versus Superman in there. And then I'd have to work it out down the line. But to me, Man of Steel is still my number 1 favorite DCU film.
Mine's very different from yours.
Yeah. Well, not that different. Yours is Flash. Flash is my number 2.
Flash, Man of Steel, but I think my number 3 is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then it'll be the Suicide Squad and Shazam.
Hey, worldwide, though, I just looked. It's like beat Shazam Fury of the Gods by 5 million.
So it's not the worst. Shazam Fury of the Gods.
It's not the worst one.
Only made not the worst of the box office.
Yeah.
No, except it was a more expensive movie to make than The Flash was too. But anyway, it'll end up making double or triple what The Flash made.
It's been a great half year of movies so far, hasn't it?
Sorry, I mean, it'll end up making double or triple what Shazam did. Listen, I have loved going to the movies lately. Between Flash, Transformers,
Wick,
John Wick,
Dungeons and Dragons.
I love Dungeons and Dragons.
My God, man!
I really loved Elemental.
Been streaking with this lately.
I mean, I've been loving going to the movies lately.
Yeah, streaking. I hated a movie since I don't know when. Even Quantumania was okay to me. So
I mean, the last movie I watched that I really didn't like was Fast X. I mean, that's the last one I saw.
that one.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Understandable.
All right. What's next?
Murray Reich writes, as someone who recently became a parent, the scene with the babies falling out of this collapsing building made me laugh and also nervous at the same time.
Yeah.
The nurse's reaction screaming was priceless.
Oh, God, I love that woman. I don't know who that actress was, but she was awesame, and I love the dog.
Yeah. Give me the end credits without the words, and I'll play
just
it
the dog?
Yeah, the dog play. I thought that was...
That's so cute.
I'm a dog guy, raised a dog guy, so
Yeah.
obviously does. That was a really,
I could
really
have done
big
without
thing.
the slobber, though.
And again, the baby's going out. I'm telling you what, creating a, oh no, kind of scenario, a building falling over, and from the top floor, a bunch of babies falling out the window. To me, that's just like the best to set up for a big superhero moment. And I adored it. I absolutely loved it.
Man.
All right, what's next?
Daniel Vakura is back and writes, what was the CinemaCon ending? I heard it was different than the theatrical ending. I know 3 different endings were shot, and you see Supergirl ask, are you ready, at the courthouse from the OG ending.
Actually, I don't know that I buy that. But anyway, the ending was exactly the same at CinemaCon, except that it ended. The screen went black after Barry says, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And you don't end up seeing George Clooney.
I don't even think we saw the foot, right? We didn't even see the foot get out of the car.
No, we did. We saw the car pull up. Yeah. We saw the car pull up.
And the crowd.
And the reporters gathering around. Then the camera went to a low shot to show the bottom of the door open, and we see the first couple of shoes get out. And then it goes to Barry going, who the fuck is this guy? And then that's where the screen went black. So it's the exact same version. It's just that it ended at CinemaCon at that point.
And no credits for us.
And no credits for us. All right, what's next?
All right. Karam writes, not that I loved and enjoyed every moment with Michael Keaton's Batman. I loved when one of the henchmen in the tunnel didn't flinch and George Clooney. WGF.
Oh, the guy, when Batman does this.
He's like flinches, yeah.
And it's like he's just a chef. Like,
does it twice.
I don't know why I love that. I want to see a spin-off movie of that chef. Igor, Russian military chef, the movie. I want to see that movie.
The Fearless Chef.
Igor, the fearless chef.
He looks like he goes through way more tough shit at home.
Yeah, he looks like he's seen some shit in his life. Like, I like what? I got to go home to my wife. You don't know my wife, Olga. Oh, that's scary every day. All right, what's next?
Logan Hoyne writes, hate the time travel logic. The statement time isn't linear doesn't change the fact that Barry went back in time linearly. It shouldn't alter the past.
Oh, I disagree 100%. So look, it's not that Barry going back linearly does not change what Bruce was saying. He did go back, but nothing has changed, right? He can move back and forth, and as long as nothing changes, it stays linear. Once he changed that, it created a parallax effect where he does the little rotation of it that says everything after is now changed, but also everything before. I loved that. I thought that was great. And again, to the point that before Barry changes anything, of course he can move linearly because nothing has changed.
You're just observing.
But once he made that change,
ran into the other Barry.
Once he did that change, it changed everything. And I loved that. It's just one of my favorite explanations of time travel in any movie ever. I really love that moment very, very much. And then when he pours out, and then once a bunch of stuff happens, he pours out the spaghetti. That's what you get. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Ethan Holgate writes, hi, John. Did you see that the actor playing Barry's dad this time was Ron Livingston?
Yes.
From Office Space. I had no idea until my dad pointed it out. Yep.
Yeah, they did a casting change from the Justice League movie.
And Swingers.
What's that?
And he's in Swingers.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying they did a casting change from the Justice League because I was a different guy who played his dad there. I've loved Ron Livingston ever since Office Space.
It's good to see him on screen.
I mean, he stayed busy. He has stayed active. He's an active actor. He also does some writing and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. I've always liked him. Still, one of my top 10 favorite, funniest moments in any movie is in Office Space when his next door neighbor turns to him and says, what would you do if you had $1 million? He goes, I don't know. What would you do? 2 chicks at once. I don't know why that line always completely slayed me. I love that. All right, what's next? What would you do?
Stupid.
2 chicks at once.
Matt G writes,
For $1 million?
when I saw that cameo, my first thought was, I bet Schnepp would have loved to have seen that.
Not only, again, it's there. Unless James Gunn or Andy Muschietti calls me specifically to correct me on this, I will always 1,000% believe that scene never would have happened if it wasn't for Schnepp's movie. If it was not for the death of Superman Lives What Happens, I don't think that scene ever happens at all. I mean, also full credit to Kevin Smith's An Evening with Kevin Smith, where he tells the story about it. But I really believe it's because of Schnepp's documentary that got in there. All right, what's next?
All right. Fangblaze71, I was really disappointed in Supergirl. I wish we got more of her. I feel like she was kind of there without much to do.
I think she did everything the movie needed her to do. Anything else would have just been wasted screen time, I think. I mean, we got all the important parts. It's not a short movie. What was it, 2 hours and 20 minutes?
Yeah, 2 hours and something.
Yeah, it's not a short movie. I think she did everything they needed the character to do. I love, especially that moment when she realizes that Zod murdered an infant Kal-El.
Yep.
She's like, and starts beating the shit out of him.
Yep.
Like when she throws him into the side of the ship and she picks up that big club and just starts hammering him with the club. I thought she was great.
And it shows you emotion doesn't mean you win. Emotion doesn't mean you win.
Nope, she still lost.
Against a general like Zod, he said, I'll let her blow her load.
Yeah.
Then I'll get her.
I'll do a little Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
But also, she was clearly, a good indicator that she was in it enough was the fact that when she died, I went like, like I was emotionally moved when she got stabbed and killed.
The first time we watched that at CinemaCon, when we left, I was kind of mad at that. But the second time watching it, it all made sense to me for some reason.
All right, what's next?
Curtis Lopez writes, really like this movie. Awesome seeing Keaton and Batman again, or as Batman again. This movie made me crave spaghetti as much as the menu made me crave cheeseburgers.
I 100% agree. After the movie, I went home. After we saw it for the second time, I went home and Ann asked, am I hungry? Do I want, because she hadn't had anything to eat. It was late and I hadn't had dinner and she hadn't had dinner because she was out doing something else. And they were like, do we want to get food? I'm like, I'm kind of in the mood to get some pasta. And it was probably 100% because I just seen that movie.
I saw the movie at the 10 a.m. screening and I didn't eat breakfast.
Oh
so
my
by
God.
the time I was home, it was after 1:30 and I was watching this and I was so hungry.
By the way, let me give you the John Campea spaghetti special.
Nope.
Here we go.
Vanilla ice cream. Oh.
Here we go.
Here we go.
You ready?
Sour cream.
Boil up some spaghetti. Okay.
Sour cream.
Boil up some spaghetti. Put it through the strainer. Put the spaghetti back in this pot. Take 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter. Mix it up till the butter melts over the spaghetti. Then in a side little pot, take a can of Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. And I say this as somebody who doesn't like mushrooms very much. Cream of mushroom soup. Once it's warmed up, pour it over that spaghetti. Add a little Parmesan. Very quick, $1.50 bachelor dinner. Chef's kiss. It's amazing.
Without any meat?
Hey, listen, I prefer meat sauce. I do. I'm talking $1.50 bachelor dinner.
That's what
But it
bothered me
tastes
about
great.
Keaton's meal. It
Oh,
didn't
I don't
really
have to
bother
have-
me.
Yeah,
I don't have to have
I
meat
like
in
having a
my
protein
pasta.
in there with
No,
my
I
pasta.
need it because-
I like having meat with my
okay.
pasta. Yeah, I agree. But hey, for a $1.50 bachelor dinner, extravagance, the finest.
The finest.
All right, what's next?
Dwayne Fernandez writes, only thing I wasn't sure about was why Barry wasn't interested in who kills his mom. Yeah, I feel like there was a way he could have found out without interacting with anyone. Yeah, it's true. He could have seen the observer.
Yeah, so like that's a very good question. Like, okay, instead of going back and figuring out, oh, I know, I'll go to the grocery store and make sure I sneak this thing. How about show up at your house 5 minutes before the guy breaks in, then beat the shit out of him and rip his head off?
Well, here's
That's what I would immediately think.
there's one argument to that though, because he was warned by Bruce, you can't interact, and he's like, it's
So he's
all
trying
over
to minimize his involvement. Like,
yeah.
oh, I'll just
So-
put a can of soup
and have
in
no
there.
interaction. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Good point. Good point. That
Plus
makes
the
a lot more
murderer
sense.
was Zod.
What's that?
Plus the murderer was Zod.
yeah, Zod showed up.
It was odd all
It
along.
was Zod all along. All right, what's next?
Fangblaze71 writes, I really like the two Barrys interacting. I thought they worked good together, and the over-the-top collage Barry was funny AF to me.
Or College Berry.
College.
I listen.
That's stupid.
Dude, that annoyed me after a while.
I know it did annoy me too.
As somebody who spent some time living in a college dorm, that was bang on to me. And that wasn't even supposed to be a college dorm, or maybe it was his college dorm. Anyway, that was bang on to me. 100%. It spoke very true to my soul.
You know where it's not loose? Where? My dick. He's like, the suit's in this ring? He's the worst.
Ray's favorite part of the movie was the big guy laying in bed and just his gitch.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ray loved that.
John, that's when John sat forward and went like this. Don't be trying to pin that on me.
That whole thing about, what was it?
He's like,
What do you call the thing on his calf?
thigh, it's something thigh, or like, I don't know. But Barry's like,
Yeah,
that's not your thigh.
the something thigh.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was that actor's name.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of the other actor?
Oh, that's right. It was
not Michael J. Fox. Oh my God.
Scott, something.
no, it wasn't Scott Bakula.
Elliot.
It was what was the actor's name?
Who cares? Let's just go to
The guy who originally was supposed to be in Back to the Future. And I'm freezing out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well,
Eric Stoltz.
Eric Stoltz.
But it was something thigh. It was something
Yeah.
that rhymed with thigh.
I know, but I can't.
And I can't remember what it was
Yeah.
now. Anyway, okay, what's next?
And he's like, first, it's not your thigh.
Yeah, first of all, it's not your thigh. And it's upside down. Then he pulls his leg.
Yeah, is it?
What's next?
Is it upside down?
Okay. Fangblaze is back. A while ago, somebody asked you if you liked Flash or Guardians 3 better, and you said Flash. What made Flash more enjoyable to you?
It's impossible to pinpoint to any specific. It's a piece of art. It just hit me a little bit better. Listen, I love Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I do. I love that movie. But for me, just the overall, I think Flash was a little bit funnier. I thought the action scenes. I mean, granted, in Guardians 3, you have that hallway scene.
Right.
Wasn't it Marty McFly?
Marty McFly.
Thank you. I knew it rhymed with thigh. It was a McFly. That's right.
Oh, they said it in the chat too. There we go.
What's that?
They just said it in the chat.
Okay,
too.
the McFly thigh. So I thought the humor was just a little bit better. And other than that one hallway fight scene, Guardians 3, which is a very, very short scene, I thought the action overall in Flash was better.
Yeah.
I just for a couple of reasons, the Flash hits me a little bit better. Like if I had the choice to go home tonight and watch Guardians 3 or Flash, I would want to watch both. But the one I would probably pick right now is Flash.
It's so weird that I like Guardians more, but I would probably watch. It's easier for me to watch Flash than it is.
I get
Probably
that.
more comedy in this one too.
Yeah, and better comedy. I think the comedy. Look, again, don't get me wrong. The comedy in Guardians 3 is great. Open the fucking door.
Yeah.
I think it's great, but I just thought the comedy in Flash worked a little bit better.
Right.
But that's just me. All right, what's next?
Ethan Holgate writes, also, John, I personally didn't see any bad CGI in this movie. I think some people just didn't like it or overthink the time travel scenes. To me, they seemed intentionally chosen that way, but views differ.
Yeah, again, I think that was very much meant 100% as a stylized choice, that in there, it doesn't look real. And I think some people probably thought, but it looked real enough that I think people understandably saw that and thought, oh, that's supposed to look real? Well, it looks pretty rough if it's supposed to look real. I totally get that. That's why, Chris and I have said a few times, I think they should have made it even more stylized to make it very clear that it's not supposed to look real. But outside of that, and I could understand if that style choice didn't work for people. I get it. I mean, it worked for me, but it didn't work for everybody. That's totally cool. But outside of the Speed Force, I thought the visual effects were quite good.
This is one of the rare movies I do want to hear a director's commentary to. Just to see if he points out any Easter eggs that we could have missed or anything.
Oh, yeah. I always want to hear director's commentaries. All right, guys, listen. Before we keep going here, we're going to take just a minute here and thank a couple of more sponsors to today's episode. Our friends doing great work over at BetterHelp and my mobile service provider, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and changing. Think about it. The person you were 5 years ago is not the exact person that you are today. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way that we do until we talk things through. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. And guys, striving for better mental health is something we should all aspire to. I've talked about this before, but when somebody goes to the gym, we applaud them for getting out there to improve their physical health. Well, it's about time that we start looking at mental health the same way, not just by encouraging the people around us to look into therapy, but by also taking the step to take care of our own mental health as well. So listen, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a short questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp, doing great work over there, and my mobile service provider, Mint Mobile, for sponsoring this episode. All right, with that down, guys, let's get through the rest of the thoughts, theories, questions, and opinions you guys have sent in. Jonathan, what's up next?
All right, Fane Blaze says, Dark Flash was completely pointless. Felt like they wanted to recreate Savitar from the Flash show, but didn't have time to do it well.
Well, I don't think they were trying to recreate anything from the Flash TV show. Let's say that. But I agree. It was not a necessary villain in the film. That was hardly present. And you could have just simply said Barry stumbled and tripped out of the Speed Force. It honestly was not really necessary. And the big reveal that he was young Barry all along.
He's been doing this for millions of years.
I mean, I agree. I did not think Dark Flash was a necessary character. I mean, it didn't pull me out of the movie. It didn't ruin the movie or anything for me, obviously. But I think they totally could have done the film without him. Really do. Yeah. All right, what's next?
All right. SK Zing writes, Lawyer John, Barry's dad was clearly home holding his mother when Barry came down the stairs. So how does the footage from the supermarket 30 minutes ago prove his innocence? Also, did Barry forget he needs to eat later on in the movie? That is kind of true. I mean, we still know he returns home and was holding her, and Barry saw him holding her. So him being at a store 30 minutes ago didn't mean she was murdered 30 minutes ago.
Well, I mean, it all depends on if they were able to create some kind of time of death line, right? And them establishing that everything that Barry as a kid told them and everything the dad told him. We were together as a family. Mom said, go get some tomatoes. So literally the argument would have then become, he would have had to have immediately ran into the house and without any discussion, just stabbed her and then called the police, right? It would have made no sense. And if they had put the timeline that she was probably, by the amount of blood loss or whatever, that she was actually stabbed like 15 minutes before that or whatever, then it would probably make more sense. So like the idea that he would have just gone to the store to get tomatoes to just walk in the door and stab her in the chest. I mean, that wouldn't make much sense. All right, what's next?
All right, Schnip writes, love the movie. Odds of us getting a solo Michael Keaton Batman movie under the Elseworlds banner?
Zero. Absolute zero. All right, what's next?
All right.
I mean, there's nothing else to say.
We're sorry.
I mean, it's zero. There's no chance they're going to do that.
All right, Bader. He's back.
Oh, boy.
18-year-old Barry causing mayhem when he first uses his powers and ends up nude in public is nothing. That's just a typical Tuesday for Ezra Miller.
Yes.
Boy.
Ezra in Hawaii. That's all that was. By the way, I love the idea that they showed, okay, you got these powers and it ain't easy. And you could do a lot of things wrong. I thought it was that whole scenario and stuff. I thought it was really funny.
I got powers?
Yeah, I thought it was extremely funny, especially too when he comes back, phases again and drops down in the thing,
Oh my
and then
gosh.
and then Barry goes back to the door and Barry opens the door again. I thought that was really well executed, very well orchestrated scene. All right, what's next?
All right. Bader's back and writes, movie makes no sense. You have all those Supermen and not one of them told Kara that the multiverse doesn't need him when it has her. Arrowverse writer.
Get it?
Yeah.
Get it? I mean, that's a direct shot. That's him trying to trigger me and get me going on my entire Supergirl jobbing Superman rant from the CW, but I won't fall for it.
Nope.
Won't go for it.
You're a better man now.
Not this time, Lord Bader.
Yep.
Except let me say this.
Oh boy.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Let me say this for 30 minutes.
I was very happy that they did not do that. Very happy. All right, what's next?
Mode Awesome writes, love this movie. Gave it an 8.5 out of 10. One of my sisters hasn't liked a single DCU movie, but she loved this one. We both cried when Barry goes back and says goodbye to his mom at the store.
I mean,
Oh, that part's. Oh.
And it wasn't even, again, we talked about it already. It wasn't even the saying goodbye. It was the fact that he had to not just choose not to save her. He actively had to make a decision to do something that would ensure that she dies.
And he would never have anything with her again?
Like, in a way, he was killing her.
Yeah.
By reaching into that thing and pulling out the tomatoes, he was killing her because he knew he had to.
Yeah.
oh God,
But then on the bright side, he gets to have the rest of his life with his pups too. You know, like how he.
I honestly thought you were going to say, on the bright side, he doesn't have to be nagged by his mom anymore.
No, because his mom was going to be in jail. He wouldn't have had no parents.
Well, but yeah, he didn't know that when he was pulling the can out, right?
Okay.
He didn't. He just thought, nope, just
I'm just
kill
glad
him.
it worked out that way then.
But I mean, that does raise a question.
Don't.
He already saw firsthand that even doing a little change, like putting a can of tomatoes in the basket, what kind of chaos that caused. And yet he didn't bother to think, hey, you know what? I'll just move this can of tomatoes up to the top shelf.
He learned a lesson yet didn't.
Yeah, he forgot the lesson immediately, just thinking, oh, as long as I keep the change as minor as possible. So, like, part of you might also think, yeah, but wouldn't he have figured out that making any change could cause disastrous results? But I don't know.
What
Whatever.
bothered me is that looked like the shittiest can of tomatoes I've ever seen.
It did not look appetizing.
Yeah, there's some better brands out there, man.
Yep. Got to get Italian. Got to be Italian or else it's no good. All right, what's next?
All right, SK is back and says CGI was bad, not just in the Speed Force. Haven't seen babies this fake since American Sniper. The director's excuse saying its style choice is BS.
I completely disagree. I thought it all looked fine.
Okay, we'll just have real.
Like, I mean, we're not going to go into it all again because we've already talked about it 8 different times. But again, in the Speed Force, one thing I thought the visual effects outside the Speed Force was totally fine. All right, what's next?
Ismail Montoya writes, hey, John, thought the movie was below par with multiverse stuff. Individual actor roles were really good, but why wouldn't Barry see who killed his mom?
I mean, that's something we already touched on. But Jonathan raises a good point. It's like, what would that have accomplished for Barry? Like, again, to me, if it was me, I'm not just going to go and move some tomatoes around. I'm going to wait until I'm going to stand outside, look at my watch, wait for the guy who kills my mom comes in, and then I'm going to rip that guy's head off. And I'm going to do it slowly, and I'm going to make them suffer, and I'm going to do all that kind of stuff. But as Jonathan raises a good point, that he went back there with the understanding that I'm going to try to change things while making as minor of an impact as possible. So that kind of makes sense.
He was trying to follow the rules.
And by the way, all multiverse is bullshit. Yeah. I hate multiverse in movies.
Chelsea version.
I mean, I do.
It's
like,
real.
yeah, you get your own movie like Into the Spider-Verse and stuff like that. Yes, but I just think in general, multiverse is a really, really lazy storytelling tool. All right, what's next?
All right, Ismail is back. Hey, John, thought the movie was... No, we just
no, already did that.
Sorry about that. You're not back. Thomas writes, in a 1 of 2, The Flash was surprisingly good. For me, the second best DCEU film behind The Suicide Squad. I noticed just how quickly 2013 Flash was able to master abilities that Barry said takes months or years of training. I also see that no one is calling 2013 Flash a Mary Sue. I kind of felt that way, unlike Ray.
Well, I remember the things that he said. The only thing he was able to get down is running fast.
Yeah.
He never phased on his own. That wasn't a total accident, like, oops, I didn't mean to phase there and I shouldn't have phased. So he wasn't able to do that.
And look, he had the real Flash actually teaching him, so he's going to pick up things a lot faster than he would by himself.
Barry, when our Barry first got their powers, Barry was trying to figure it out all on their own. There was no instruction manual. Meanwhile, now he had the actual Flash, older version of himself.
So it made sense.
Yeah, so that part, that didn't bother me, actually. Yeah. I didn't see anything wrong with that. All right, what's next?
All right, Min Tran writes, during the other universe cameo scene, I was hoping that either Grant Gustin or Tyler Hoechlin be on those universe that was shown.
If you wanted to do a Grant Gustin cameo, just like Ezra cameoed in Grant Gustin's Flash, that was your ideal place to do it. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know why they didn't. I think
Did they have the other Flash?
It wouldn't have taken anything away. It just would have been a nice shout out to the fans of the TV Flash.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know why they didn't.
The Flash with the old military helmet and the wings?
Yep.
Was that the one from the Flash series?
It looked like him.
I thought it was him.
I thought it was him. I mean, I'm not 100% sure it was him, but it certainly looked like him.
Yeah.
But you brought Ezra into the CW Flash crossover. Why not use that opportunity to drop in? I mean, look, it wouldn't have made the movie any better or any worse. I just don't know why you didn't take advantage of that. All right, what's next?
All right. Min Tran writes, with reports of Clooney replacing Keaton as the final Bruce, is it safe to say Muschietti said those Ezra comments because he knew no sequel?
100%. Yeah. I said that on my show the day Muschietti said it. When Muschietti made the comments saying, if I do Flash sequel, I'm not recasting Ezra. What did I say on the show? I said, he knows there's not going to be a Flash sequel. So he can say that. It's easy. There's no repercussions to saying that because he already knows there's not going to be a Flash sequel. So yeah, 100%, 100%. All right, what's next?
Casinema writes, I didn't like that they used spaghetti to explain the multiverse and how the timeline changed. You know what they should have used? A bagel. Because of everything everywhere all at once.
Oh my God, that's right. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I was about to go on the whole spiel again. No, I think the spaghetti thing was really good. Oh yeah, the bagel thing. There you go. Yeah, again, to me, that was my biggest moment in it when Bruce explains multiverse that way and takes the spaghetti and turns it on its axis. I went, I thought that was great. I've never seen any other movie try to explain time travel or multiverse like that. I thought it was original and creative, and it explained the movie, right? And used food, yes, which is always a good thing.
Something that gets
just like the bagel. But yeah, I thought that was great. All right, what's next?
Casinema writes, the crowd in my theater went nuts when Nicolas Cage's Superman showed up. Where can I find John Schnepp's The Death of Superman Lives? What happened?
Well, somebody else wrote in a little bit earlier to say you can still find it on YouTube.
It might have been one of those things that it's just on YouTube, but and I'm hoping it's like a legit copy and not like an upload. Just for like, because
if somebody pirated up there, burn in hell. If somebody uploaded his movie to YouTube without and it's not being, one of the other producers on the movie, whether it's Holly or whatever, then burn in hell. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they did just then throw it up. Like they sold out of all their physical copies and they said, you know what? If we just put it on YouTube, we'll collect the ad revenue from it. There, I hope that's what it is. I don't know.
As far as I know, any streaming services, it's not on any of them.
All right.
I looked a little while ago.
All right. What's next?
All right. We've got Pablo Zuniga who writes, to be honest, it felt like a sequel to a non-existent first Flash movie. The TV show did it much better. Movie assumes the audience has a lot of predisposed knowledge about certain things. Wish I liked it more.
I say this as somebody who was a fan of the Flash show. The Flash show is shit compared to the movie version. I say that as a fan of the Flash show. Everybody knows I like the Flash show. I gave up on it. I tapped out on it a couple of seasons ago. Like I just felt, no pun intended, it ran its course and it was time to finish. But the first 3-4 seasons of Flash, I loved that show. I will always look back on that Flash show very, very fondly. But make no mistake about it. It was a CW show.
The subtleness.
It was all CW.
You know what you like?
And the movie version.
The subtleness of you.
The subtleness.
Give it to us gently, man.
but the movie version is very not CW.
Yeah.
And listen, and Grant Gustin as that CW Flash was great. Love Grant Gustin.
Yeah.
Love that dude. I think he was fabulous in that role. But I don't want another CW Flash. I want a theatrical movie event Flash, and the Flash we had on CW was not that, like, at all. So it's just, it's again, it's like any art form, man. It's a matter of taste. I feel one way about it. You may feel another, and that's all good. It's all good. Mm-hmm. All right, what's next?
Stefan Lindwooders writes, unfortunately, I didn't like The Flash, got many problems with it, and most of them are with script. I was bored throughout most of it. Oh, well.
Hey, listen, that's the beautiful thing about movies, man. They all hit us in different ways. Not everybody loves The Godfather. Not that I'm saying The Flash is The Godfather. Yeah. Not everybody loves Star Wars. Not everybody loves Lord of the Rings. Not everybody loves Shawshank Redemption. And there's nothing wrong with that. Movies are art, and art hits us all in a very unique way. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. I love this movie. For you, it didn't work all that well. Oh, well. And now we move on to the next movie, and hopefully we all like the next one. Whatever the next one is. All right, what's next?
Cinema writes, Barry not being able to prevent Bruce and Kara from dying reminded me of Doctor Strange episode of What If, where he tries to prevent Christine from dying.
That's
what did they call it in Doctor Strange? They called it a
time, or
it wasn't in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. It was in the What cartoon. If animated show. They say that Christine dying was. In Spider-Verse, they would call it a canon event, but in What If, they called it a certain. Christine dying was a blah blah blah
Nexus event.
An Axis event, something that could not Nexus event, something that could not change. Like that's going to happen no matter what you try. Christine dying is just that.
Yeah, it is the next
And
X-Men.
it did kind of feel like that a little bit, though. I mean, not the first time that type of a story trope has been employed, but yeah, it was effective. All right, what's next?
Cody Hunt writes, Andy got to direct 3 Batman in one movie, Affleck, Keaton, and Clooney. Can you imagine telling that to his younger self? Plus, he gets
That's true.
plus he gets to do a 4th coming up.
Yeah, and if you want to count a CG recreation, you also had Adam West's Batman.
Oh yeah, that's
in there
right.
too, right?
When his little running thing.
His little
And
Batman
you heard
running.
the
So he
Jokers laugh
technically
at
got
that.
to direct 4 Batman, if you want to count CGI. All right, what's next?
All right. Cody Hunt says, Dark Flash looked utterly ridiculous. I hated his design. I wish there was a way that Dark Flash wasn't in the movie at all.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the design of Dark Flash, to be honest with you, but I agree that didn't need to be there.
He kind of looked like Doomsday a little bit with the little spikes coming out of the animated version of Doomsday. You know how he had the little things coming out
It
of his...
basically showed his younger version
Right.
went almost evil because he didn't want to accept what older Flash had accepted already.
Listen, one of the great motivators of villains in things is loss, right? That younger Barry finding out he's going to lose his mom. And remember, that Barry had lived 18 years with his mom. Our Barry only had the first 6 or 7 years with his mom.
Right.
So this Barry just found out, unless I fix things, my mom dies. Kara, who I just met but has become a great ally and friend, she dies. Batman, who is real in his world, Batman dies. But the big thing is his mother. And like tragic loss is a great classic villain origin thing. And so I didn't mind that part of it. It's just that, again, I don't think Dark Flash even needed to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be there. They could have easily had the events that happened be explained. Stumbled out of the Speed Force. Then this happened here. And then the worlds colliding. It was just a natural result of what Barry had done. They didn't need to have the character there. And I kind of wish they just took him out. All right, what's next?
King Daddy Go. Right. So George Clooney was not in the movie you guys had seen?
Again, it's the exact same movie. It's just that the screen goes black when you see the new Bruce's feet, and then it cuts to Barry going, who the fuck is this guy? And boom, that's where the movie ended. So we didn't get to see the next shot of the camera panning up and showing George Clooney. That's what we didn't see at CinemaCon. Why they felt like they had to hide that part from us at CinemaCon, I have no idea.
We were talking about that all night long. Oh, do they have multiple endings and they're gonna do whatever fits at that time?
The only thing I thought was that the reason you wouldn't show it to us at CinemaCon, because it's just a quick cameo that means nothing. The only thing I thought there was, I bet whoever this actor is the new Batman in the DCU.
It'll
And they're
get
not
the
showing
buzz
it.
going.
And then when we're watching the movie again, and I realized, okay, it was just a Clooney cameo?
Did they
What
show
was
you-
the point of hiding that?
Did they show you all the Supermen?
Yes, all of it.
All of the...
You know what?
Yep, showed us all of that.
You know what it is? I think they wanted the people who saw CinemaCon to go back to the theater and
buy
watch it to
tickets.
find out.
That's one
4,000
theater
more
full of
people isn't going to add much to the box
no,
office
but
total.
come
But
on,
yeah,
that's the whole-
okay,
and
maybe.
If the cat's out of the bag, then you have nothing to talk about. We were all trying to guess who it was.
I suppose.
So it came out.
All right, what's next?
Should have been Christian Bale.
Zach Milne talks movies. What was in the theater cut that wasn't at CinemaCon?
Well, yeah, we covered that a
yeah,
couple times already.
The Clunes.
Yeah. Rampage Predacon writes, is the post-credit scene with Aquaman hinting that Momoa is Aquaman in the DCU also?
I don't think so, because again, with the Batman reveal in that world now is George Clooney, and there's no way in hell George Clooney is the Batman in the DCU. To me, that was just said, that's done. This Flash movie does not carry over because in this new reality that Barry returns to, George Clooney is Batman. George Clooney ain't going to be Batman in Batman Bold and the Brave. So I think
should have left it out.
I don't
If
have
there's
a
no
problem with it. I thought it
ramifications,
was cool.
why even keep it in there?
That's zany.
I mean, it was a fun cameo.
Yeah, I guess, you know.
Yeah, man.
And-
Why are
and
you
I
spoiling
left.
it?
And
I
they
left
should
already.
not be continuing
spoiling
anything from this
everyone's fun.
I'm sorry.
DCU into the new DCU, right? They shouldn't be carrying anything over anyway. So I was actually kind of relieved to see that George Clooney pops up because that is a clear signal that this is it. Like, we're not going to see Ezra's Flash again, I believe. We'll find out if I'm right or wrong. I don't know. But I believe we're not going to see Ezra again. This universe is done. This universe is over. We still got to get through the next Aquaman movie. We still got to get through Blue Beetle. But then that's it.
I
think
actually
that's
left our showing early. I didn't even see the post with Aquaman.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was happy with the dog already, so I was like, let's go. I'm gonna go on my.
I'm a little concerned about Blue Beetle now, though.
Why?
And I didn't like the trailer as much the second time seeing it.
It's not a great trailer. I
Sort
think
of
it's
like,
good. I think it's got
happens,
potential.
And this happens, and then this happens. It's cool.
But James Gunn's already said that this
Yeah.
Blue Beetle is not the Blue Beetle movie is not canon with
No,
the
I
new
know.
DCU, right?
Yeah.
He said the character Blue Beetle is the first the new DCU character,
Right.
but not the movie. So the events of the movie do not carry over into the new thing. All right, what's next?
Okay. King Daddy Goat writes, "You're Batman. What is wrong with you? Loved it." I don't remember that scene.
Oh, that's the George Clooney thing.
Oh, you're.
What's wrong with you?
Oh, yeah.
You're
Oh,
Batman?
Yeah.
Barry, what's wrong with you? I mean, I thought that was a fun little exchange there. All right, what's next?
King Daddy Goat writes 8.5 out of 10 for me, and happy the CGI didn't distract me.
I don't give numeric scores to movies. I think if I did, mine would probably be somewhere in the same neighborhood there. And again, once my brain just kind of went to, oh, this is a style choice, then it had no impact on the rest of my viewing. I was like, okay, that's the style choice they're going for, whatever. Then it was perfectly fine after that. All right, what's next?
Matt G writes, "When I saw that Nick Cage cameo, my first thought was I bet Schnepp would have loved this, or I'd love to have seen this."
Listen, again, it's worth talking about 100 times. How, if you were somebody who were entertained by John Schnepp, who we just marked the 5th anniversary of his passing. You cannot watch that movie without the moment that Superman turns around and you see Nicolas Cage's face and not see John Schnepp in your head.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't, not possible. Can't do it. I think it was a tremendous tribute to John Schnepp. I think it was a tremendous, for those of us who knew about it, homage to the legacy of Schnepp. And I didn't watch all the credits. I didn't read all the credits. I hope somewhere in the credits they put a little mention of special thanks. They don't have to. I'm just saying it would be nice if they did. But yeah, it's hard not to think of the big man when you see that happen for sure. All right, what's next?
And then just support from Trunk Lion QW.
And guys, that'll do it for this special open spoiler discussion of The Flash, a movie I loved. Apparently 86% of the audience liked it. 65% of the critics liked it. Not everybody did. And that's the great thing about movies, is that they all hit us in different ways. I had a great time with this movie. I really, really did. It's good to hear that many of you did as well. Some of you did not, and that's all good. We still get to enjoy watching these movies together. So thank you guys for being here and joining us for this little open spoiler discussion. I want to thank, of course, Ray for being here, Jonathan Voico, and most importantly, you guys. Thank you for being here. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great, fun things and interesting things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did, and all of us involved. Thank you guys so much for your support. Tomorrow, of course, open mic returns. Because we didn't do this open spoiler discussion yesterday like we had planned, we had to bump open mic out of its spot today. Open mic will return tomorrow.
Open mic and Oppenheimer.
Oh, you
tomorrow.
guys see Oppenheimer? What time?
The 20th.
Is it?
We're watching it tomorrow night.
I thought it was July.
I thought it was the 20th tomorrow.
I thought it's July.
July.
20th.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't have to-
Movies
July.
don't open on a Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah. It's open July. dude. You got a month.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer
Yeah.
next month.
Next
I
month.
mean,
Next month.
Game
Oppenheimer.
month.
game.
Game month. Ray's standing there at AMC tomorrow going, which theater is Oppenheimer?
Man, I would have drove there and I've been like, where you guys at? 1 month early.
It's like
Never-
opening on
can
a
we cut this
Tuesday?
out?
What?
This is so dumb that I want this cut out now. Talk to my agent.
All right, guys. That'll do it for us. Make sure you come back and join us again tomorrow. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.